mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia, Beaus, Sheil, and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Beaus, Sheil, and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping their wings on Birds with Friends.
All I know is Zach said he has a game where Sheil don't read both 7,000 and I said I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it.
And so the purpose
that's what I needed was not to get at least one more reader. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a bi-week edition, a morning edition of Birds with Friends 940. Zach, prime time for this episode of Birds with Friends. We will talk about the win over the Jets. We'll talk about Gardner Minshew. We've got the bird on the street. Sheil's got some Squall 22. If you've got some questions in the chat, feel free to fire them off. Sheil, who cares how you're doing? Zach, how are you doing? It's early morning. This is all about you, baby.
I'm doing great. This is my time right here, right? I was up at 5:17 this morning.
We should have let you host.
Ready to roll. And this is good. I like this because we've had this conversation on the pod before. I think Sheil was talking about it. If you're a morning radio host, you're up early, but then your day is over at what time? Like 10 a.m. My day's not over after this, but for all intents and purposes, like I don't have to be on as far as on the screen. I don't have interviews. I can just write. Bo and I have an email back and forth going. So I like this time. Let's do more of this.
Yeah. Sheil, how are you?
Yeah, I like the morning as well. I feel like I'm pretty versatile. You know, I can bring the juice at any time of day, flex. But I am at my most efficient in the morning. I like to wake up, grab the coffee, sit down right here, start typing away, and that's I feel like my most productive period is from 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So
I'm at my most efficient from, I would say, like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m.
That's college. I mean, that's 18, 19, 20. You're a grown up now.
Oh, yeah, it's not good.
I totally got out of that. Yeah, no, college, I would be that way. I would wait till the last second, start something at 10 at night. It's no big deal. You just type away through the night till it's finished, grab a couple hours of sleep, and then, I tried not to.
I can't work in the morning, but like I would say that's when my best work gets done.
Okay.
Well, judging by the quality of your day after stories, I would agree with that.
Well, I don't know about that. All right. Well, I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? We can't talk about anything personal, so let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Sheil, what did you? I don't know. I guess we might as well send things over to the Stone Cold Newsman. Find out if there is anything to talk about that we need to know from what happened since Sunday's game. So let's send it on over to his.
The Philadelphia Eagles are on bye this week. The players were in on Monday, and so do the coaches. I believe. Well, I need to look that up as far as the coaches. But in true Wulf form, Nick Sirianni said he can't get away from football. He's a football guy, so he will be watching Army Navy. He'll be watching his son's flag football game and trying to get ideas that way. So Bo and Nick share that much in common. Jason Kelce, Eagles nominee for here. I will give a little plug here to the Philadelphia Eagles website. I thought they had a really nice video out with Kelce and his parents, and it was pretty touching to hear his parents talk about Jason and we obviously had Sheil wrote that great story on him a few years ago. Bo wrote that outstanding story on him a year ago. But I thought when you hear from his parents, you hear a different side of Kelce, and so I would recommend that. Otherwise,
I'll give them the further plug that there's actually an even longer version of that video on the website that has his wife in there, a couple other people who he's affected, and also an appearance from perhaps the person who I would say is the most revered player in Eagles franchise history. Go ahead.
Okay, there you go.
Vince
yeah,
Papali.
I'm gonna check that out.
Close.
And then and some injury
Brent
updates.
Selleck.
A bridge too far, right, Bo? Some injury updates for you. We'll find out more about Brandon Brooks after the bye week. So that's a big one hanging over there. Jason Kelce, from an injury perspective, they got good news in that it doesn't seem like it's a serious injury. It's the type of thing that they're hopeful that he's back after the bye. The bye is coming at a good time for him. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. Steve Nelson should be fine. Patrick Johnson should be fine. Jordan Howard should be fine as well.
Let me ask you a reporting ethics question, Zach.
Please.
So I went down early. I went down early after before the Jets game had ended, right? And I was just waiting near the locker room to see if I could get some color and just what the guys would be like coming off the field. And before the game ended, after he got hurt, Kelce was running past, going or walking past from the field to the locker room, and I overheard him say something about the injury. Is that reportable?
Overhearing. I think it's
You're getting a little taste, everybody, of my wife's meetings as well today. What are you going to do?
It's reportable upon verification, right? So I don't know if within itself I would report that, but what I would do is, like, you overheard something, then you can go and confirm it. And you pretty much know it to be true, but you're getting a confirmation on it either directly or indirectly. So that's probably how I would do it. That's astute reporting. You don't usually get the overhearing, overseeing. Sometimes you get like you see something in a locker, right? When we were in the locker room, that would come up. But that's good work by you.
I mean, it wasn't that good work.
If nothing else, you take it to the team and you let them know,
Exactly.
hey, I heard this. And then if they say, you're not supposed to really, well, all right. Well, now you got a little, life is all about hand. You want to have a little more hand. Next time you ask for something, well, I didn't really, I didn't say anything about the Kelce thing. Now you're not going to get me Suo Peta for this feature I'm working on. Come on. You scratch your back, you scratch my, whatever that saying is, back scratching.
I've never heard hand used that way before.
Never watched the Seinfeld about hand?
Yeah.
You want to have
I've
the hand.
seen
I
man
never have
hands.
hand in the relationship. Zach knows what I'm talking about.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah.
It's like the upper hand.
The upper
You want
hand.
the
You
upper
want to have
hand, the lower
hand.
hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've never heard it
You
without
always-
upper.
Yeah, no.
Or
You wanna have the
leverage.
hand-
I mean-
no, you want to have the hand in the relationship.
I have no hand in my.
That's really what life is all about.
I have the lower hand in my relationships at all times. So,
Well, we don't want to get too personal.
that's-
Okay. Well, so yeah, it sounds like, nothing season ending for the Eagles. The Brooks thing, I guess there's nothing to say because they said we'll get an update, and we've talked about it, how bizarre it is. But
yeah, they're being very clandestine about it. So they've said for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll have something for you after the bye. So I'm curious what it is, but at this point, right?
he's been named the new head coach.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay. Shield, does anything newsworthy mean anything at all to you? Do you care about anything here?
Well, you know the answer to that. It's no, but we have to do a podcast and fill time, and so I'm here. So no, nothing. You don't go ahead, Zach.
No, I'm fascinated to hear Shields quarterback team.
Yeah,
because
I
think that's the
talked about
biggest.
the game
That's the
and
biggest
the
story.
team.
Yeah.
None of it really applies to the to the news that Zach
Okay.
just gave out. But
Okay.
let's just get to it.
Well, let's you know what? Let's just get this ad break out of the way so that we can just give the full Squall
Out of the
22.
way. Sorry, sponsors. Let's give the
segment.
ads
So I'm here to talk to you about Peloton. You don't need to wait until the new year to start achieving your fitness goals. It's December, but get a jump on it now. Peloton makes working out simple, convenient, and fun. Peloton delivers a workout experience that is so exciting you will actually look forward to working out. For me, that's true. Now, I'll admit that my pace of using the Peloton has dwindled a little bit as the grind of the season has worn me down a little bit. But When I do get on the Peloton, I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to when the season's over, I can get back to the same pace that I had before. For example, Peloton sets itself apart from other home workouts and gym studio workouts. Music that always hits the right note, the ability to seamlessly jump between a wide variety of workouts, or the far-reaching community support. Peloton makes fitness entertaining and fun. You never have to work out alone. There's an endless class variety to keep your workouts feeling fresh, and you get free access to the Peloton app when you purchase a Peloton bike. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more. Try Peloton classes for free for the rest of the year. New members only. Visit onepeloton.com/app to learn more. Terms apply. Peloton, when your workout is a joy, it's a joy to work out.
This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months for free. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. It is the perfect time to switch. Mint Mobile's best offer of the year is here. For a limited time, buy any 3-month plan and get 3 more months free. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings to you. All plans come with unlimited talk and text and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network with Mint Mobile. Choose the amount of monthly data that's right for you and stop paying for data that you never use. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. For a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/birds. That's mintmobile.com/birds. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/birds.
Well, Sheil, we go from Mint to Minshew.
Ooh, good transition.
Thank you very much. Tell us what you thought. Does Gardner Minshew deserve to be the starting quarterback moving forward? Was that the best performance you've ever seen from an Eagles quarterback? Are you ready to grow a mustache?
Well, what's the question? Is the question who gives them the better chance to win games the rest of the season? Is the question, take everything into account, future plans, long-term, beyond 2021? Frame it in one way, because I think there are different ways to slice this.
Well, no, because I think the question is how should it be framed if you were the Eagles organization?
If you were the GM and you were the head coach.
I would play Jalen Hurts, and it wouldn't really be that hard of a decision for me, quite honestly.
From both roles.
From both roles, I think. I think if you're Nick Sirianni, I guess maybe there could be a part of you that says, "Hey, I want to do what we did earlier in the season," and maybe Minshew gives us a better chance at that. I mean, they're two very different quarterbacks, as Bo wrote about in the day after. I think ultimately, if we're just looking at what do they have, 4 games left, 5 games.
4 games left.
4 games.
4
4
games
division
left.
games.
5 weeks.
It's pretty close to me in terms of who would give them the better overall performance. I actually think you can make a case for either of them. I think ultimately the end result is probably going to be pretty similar. You're just going to get there in a very different way. I mean, I think Minshew is going to be more accurate in the short and intermediate part of the field. So I think if you're going to be maybe, that's what you need to rely on, an efficient, short passing game, then he would be probably the better option. But Hurts gives you so much as a runner, not just in the traditional run game and the designed run game, but also as a scrambler. And also we have to look at this. I mean, Minshew, that was the best game of his career. If you just sort it by EPA per play, every game he's ever started, that was the best game of his career. Jalen Hurts is coming off the worst game of his season. So there's huge recency bias in this when you look at those two. Is Gardner Minshew likely to have statistical performances like he had last week against a defense that ranked 32nd in DVOA and was a complete disaster? Is he likely to repeat those in the final 4 weeks of the season? No, absolutely not. Jalen Hurts, if we're having this discussion after one of his previous games, whether it was Denver or New Orleans, or I don't know, there's probably another one that I'm missing in there, then we're saying, what are we even talking about? Jalen Hurts is playing really well. We're not going to have that conversation. So I think it's Hurts. I don't know that they'll have to think that much about it. I think when he's healthy, he comes back, he plays. You had a formula you were leaning on. You had an identity you were leaning on, run heavy. And I don't think that Minshew is going to give you the significant bump in the passing game where you would say, hey, let's go ahead and make a switch here.
I'm curious, something, actually both your guys' perspectives, and Bo touched on this a bit in his day after, but the Minshew mania, if you will, how much of it do you think has to do with like the persona of Gardner Minshew compared to the play of Gardner Minshew?
Well, it was interesting that both like Dallas Goddard and Miles Sanders said something about talking to Gardner about like having been a fan of his from his time in Jacksonville. Like, I think that is like there is some real charisma there, and guys like that. But I've been like like going into this game, you're like, okay, here we go, quarterback controversy. And Gardner Minshew plays, as you said, Sheil, like the best game of his life. And it's still like there's not that much juice there. Like, it's funny that he played better than you could have expected, and still it doesn't seem like it's a real question. Like, I mean, the way he won that game, as we talked about, like, 15 of his 22 passes within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. It's not like it was like he was doing something that couldn't be done.
Wait, a real question from whom, though? You don't think it's a real question from whom? Because I think from fans, it's definitely a question. Like,
you think so? I feel like it hasn't really reached a fever pitch.
I disagree. What do you think, Sheil?
I'm kind of, I haven't listened. Now, normally my gauge for this is sports talk radio, and I haven't listened to it at all this week. I've got my hit flex coming up at 11. And so usually after those two, I know what the conversation is more, because it's like, all right, what are they leading with when they ask me here? I sort of agree with Bo. I felt like it was going to be more of a thing after the game than it has been. Now, maybe there is some, but it almost feels like, shoot, we have a bye. What else are we going to talk about? Minshew just started.
Right.
And I think really the case is, if you're looking at this, like, neither one of them is that exciting, in terms of kind of where you are. When you're looking at just the landscape of the league, when Eagles fans sit down on Sunday and they're watching games around the league and they're watching the Kyler Murrays and the Justin Herberts and the Patrick Mahomes and, whatever other Aaron Rodgers, the 6, 7, 8 guys you can mention, and you're saying, wow, look at those guys. And I'm having one about Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew. Like, this doesn't feel great, because, as an Eagles fan, I mean, there have been periods in the past, whether it was, Carson Wentz in 2017, where you felt like, all right, we've got our guy. It's a weight lifted off your shoulders as a fan, as an NFL fan, when you just don't have to worry about quarterback, whether it's Donovan McNabb, Carson. You're just like, all right, we got our guy, for better or worse. We'll criticize him when he plays poorly. We'll praise him when he plays well. We'll, go at the GM and the coach for not doing things they should do, other players on the team, but we don't have to worry about it. Like, he's our guy. We don't have to talk about it week after week after week. And even with like the, whether it was Wentz or Foles, even that to me was different. That had juice, because it was like, shoot, this guy just won a Super Bowl and is coming in. The other guy we traded all these draft picks for, and he's played at a high level. Like, that had a lot of juice to it, because there was something you could kind of feel to it, and you weren't kind of sure how the coach felt. Now, did some of the teammates, did they prefer Foles was in there? And this one's just kind of like, well, you're under 500, you're going into the last 4 games. Maybe you sneak into the wild card round. I'm not saying people aren't excited about the end of the season. Like, I think it's going to be fun to see how they respond and what they do. But there's not that sense of like, one of these guys is the guy who's really going to lead us for years to come. Maybe some people feel that way about Hurts. I don't think anyone feels that way about Minshew.
Well, to that point, I'm sorry. I saw you were about to say something, Bo. To that point, if you look at the Eagles' history in quote unquote quarterback controversies, and this is how I've answered the question to anyone who has asked, like why Hurts, when Minshew has a certain skill set that seems that Hurts doesn't seem to have at this point. But my answer to that is, if you look, whether it was Wentz, Foles, whether it was Vic Cobb, even frankly when it was Foles, Vic, in the middle of the 2013 season,
the dual press conference, the combo press conferences.
But the the organization has always gone with the quarterback they felt has the most upside to become the franchise guy, right? Like that has been the North Star. It hasn't been who can win a game for you on Sunday. It's been like who can be one of those guys who Sheil mentioned. You turn on the TV on Sunday and like Kyler Murray's on, Justin Herbert's on. That's why they went Vic over Cobb. That's why they went Wentz over Foles. And that's why, like, I don't think Hurts is going to become that player. I know there's a commenter. I appreciate all our listeners. A commenter who thinks I always kill Hurts, but like, if I had to bet, I'd bet against Hurts becoming Kyler Murray. I'm not afraid to say that. But Hurts has much more upside than Minshew. I think Minshew's best case scenario is a bridge quarterback or a high end backup. And
I don't even.
Yeah. So I think that's what they. I think that's my answer to it.
I don't even think it's close. I mean, I think we could argue about who gives them a better chance to win, next week. I think that could be an argument. I would still say it's Hurts, and I wouldn't think that it was particularly close. But the idea of thinking long term, who has a chance to be like a top 15 quarterback, it's not even close. That like there is that upside for Hurts that there isn't for Minshew.
The Minshew film was not good, if I'm just being perfectly honest. And it seems like crazy to say because statistically, I mean, it's really like their offensive performance in that game. I think if you look at it league wide, I just like to look at the EPA per drive was like a top 15 performance. I think league wide any game this season. So you
find that on the Athletic feed, by the way.
He made his three best throws were all like very far behind, like wide open guys.
So I wouldn't even say those were his best. I mean, I thought he had two really nice plays. I thought one was the first touchdown to Goddard. You guys talked about it in the post-game pod. He has to shuffle away from, or he's under pressure, and he makes a nice throw downfield. There's Goddard beats CJ Mosley, but there is a safety kind of closing in there. So that was a nice throw. And then he made another nice throw to Quez Watkins where he had to kind of move to his left and threw it.
And that one was far behind him too. Like, he had to
wait
forever for that ball.
Well, there was one that was really well. Here are the ones I have. Is
the one where he's wide open, and they show the one that Zach was talking about, where they show like a zero blitz at the line, and then the guy backs off, and Quez screams across the middle of the field wide open.
The guy falls down when the guy fell down.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a 22-yard completion. I mean, that's completely underthrown. That could potentially be a 43-yard touchdown if that's a good throw, and it wasn't a good throw. It was a terrible throw. I mean, it was a nice job by Chris. Why he had to literally stop and come forward, which you usually don't have to do when you're running a route like that. Excuse me. He underthrew the Goddard TD, which you can find on my Instagram.
One, right.
Shout out to Coach Flynn. A nice concept by the Eagles, a simple concept, a simple pick play there that freed up Dallas Goddard. I mean, that ball's absolutely underthrown. There was a Texas route to Kenneth Gainwell that it was a poor throw. Gainwell kind of bobbled it up to himself and came down with it. Dallas Goddard on the corner route where they got the terrible defensive pass interference call.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a terrible throw. He had two botched RPOs that turned into sacks. And so, like, his ball placement and accuracy.
Yeah, did you think that those were on him?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, when they're I didn't like look at them that closely. Okay. I'm just like, all right, it's an RPO.
Right.
It's not there, and it turns into a sack. Usually Jalen Hurts is getting you at least a 2 yards on that or something. That could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't looked at all of them, but just in my notes here for how Minshew played. And so, like, I actually think that, maybe an under-discussed aspect of that game, and again, it was the Jets, so I understand it. It's like Sirianni is I mean, he's doing a good job with the offense. I mean, they're 10th in offensive DVOA, and look at what their passing game has been all season long. I mean, even look at their support. I mean, Devontae Smith, good player. Dallas Goddard, good player. Everyone else. I mean, it's not the 10th most talented offense in the NFL. No one would argue that. I mean, it's probably not a top 15 talented offense. And so I think Sirianni deserves more credit, and the offensive coaching staff, maybe wide receiver coaching aside, the offensive coaching staff deserves more credit for what you get a backup quarterback in there playing for the first time with this group, and you had a top 15 league-wide performance. Again, the defense sucked, Sure, but still, you still get credit for that. It's an NFL defense. And so I think Sirianni has done a good job as the year has gone on to adapt to his personnel. And I think that if you're an Eagles fan, you should feel more encouraged about what he's done from that aspect of it. And so, that was like a big takeaway from this game. It's like, look at these screens. I mean, They're executed very well. Look at that play to Goddard. That's executed very well. They're finding ways to get Goddard matched up against a linebacker. And so they're doing these different things. The run game. I mean, if you look at I'm not an offensive line aficionado, but like when you're just watching the end zone angle, and anybody who's like watched football can look at it, you're just like, this looks exactly like how I would imagine an offensive line coach who's like teaching it would want it to look. I mean, just everyone is doing their job. There are these gaping holes. You're having Nate Herbig pull. I mean, again, that's a backup offensive lineman. Like, this isn't a Pro Bowler. He's pulling on an 18-yard touchdown run. Dallas Goddard's doing a great job in the run game. Jordan Mailata, we've talked about his development at length. Landon Dickerson is playing really well right now. In my opinion, if he can stay healthy, that looks like it's going to be a really good pick. I know that's a big if, and that's why I criticized it at the time. But yeah, you can see what scouts, what coaches, what teams would like in Landon Dickerson. He's playing really well right now in space, or just when he's like moving the line of scrimmage. I mean, you compare the Eagles offensive line to like these other offensive lines you watch in the NFL, and it really is night and day, whether it's the run game or pass protection. I mean, some of these pockets that their quarterbacks get, you just like pause it. There's like no one around them. And there are teams in the NFL where the quarterback gets that like 6-7 times a game at most. And so that was just kind of a big takeaway I had from this game, is like, let's give the coaching staff some more credit.
And I think I said it on the post-game pod, but I think it was even more glaring thinking back on it, that like this game was so much more about Sirianni and the offensive game plan than it was about Minshew.
Yes.
They really did a great job. And I do also think the Jets were like totally caught off guard. I think they fully expected it to be Jalen Hurts until like the night before.
I just think, look, I'm not trying to talk up Minshew here, right? But I keep going back to the biggest criticism that I've had of Hurts, and Hurts has a lot of skills that I like, that I think he can build upon, and I think the intangibles are outstanding. But I've said this since the summer: the ball hits the ground too much, right? It's that simple. The completion percentage suggests that. Well, Gardner Minshew, and like Sheil pointed out, the passes weren't perfect, but the ball didn't hit the ground that often, and when it did, it was usually intentional. And for whatever, so you talk about the screen game, and that's the coaching. That's also that's getting it out quickly. That's taking that he worked his checkdowns, and that's what jumps out to me. And that's what this offense needs to be functional. Is they can't have dead drives, and they too often had dead drives against the Giants, and in some of these games, in Hurts played really well against Atlanta, obviously, and you need to look to, the element of surprise. Like, we didn't know what Hurts was going to look like against the Falcons. The Jets didn't know what Minshew was going to look like against the Jets, and things look different as there's more film. But when you're completing over 70% of your passes, that's how you sustain drives, and that was the key to me.
Yeah, I think an interesting exercise would be to, like, if you counted all of Jalen Hurts' scrambles as completed passes and the yards. And I know that's like, you're screwed, but that is part of it, because Minshew is not going to scramble. And so, I've heard like analysts say, a scrambling quarterback is his own check down, which means, right, why would I just check it down to Miles Sanders for 4 if I can run for 8? And, then you don't have any chance of a tip ball, an interception, and incompletion. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And Hurts has been one of the best scrambling quarterbacks in the NFL. But I mean, your point is right. I mean, even with the screen game, I don't know the nuances of that, but it did look more crisp, better executed with Minshew, whether it's the timing, knowing, how much to let the rush get to you, when to get rid of the football, the accuracy there. You are right. I mean, it doesn't feel like a high degree of difficulty thing, but there's no denying that it did look very crisp with Minshew in there, where it hasn't looked as crisp. Remember last year? My gosh, the screen game.
Oh my God.
It was just like they couldn't get positive yardage on it. So again, credit to the coaching staff. I mean, the screen game looks completely different this year. as well. So, I do think there are some of those little things that Minshew probably, even with a larger sample, would do better.
It seemed like they were getting to the line quicker.
Okay, I didn't look at that, but that's
just
interesting.
Like anecdotally, it felt like that, and that has been like a thing with Hurts. And I thought it was more of like an offensive coaching thing potentially, that they've been sort of scrambling to beat the play clock throughout the season a little bit, and Minshew got them to the line quicker, and it seemed like things were a little bit crisper pre-snap. But again, that could have also just been the Jets.
Yeah, I think Minshew is a fringe starter plus backup in the NFL, which is fine. I mean, where he came into the league, and you see backups come in all the time and they're complete disasters, and the offense can't even function. Like Minshew's going to have, I think, a long career as what I just said. It's hard for me to look at him and think that there's a lot of upside there. So even if you're not a Hurts fan and you think there's a 5% chance that he can be like a top 10 quarterback consistently in the NFL, I mean, wouldn't you just want to get more information on that the rest of the way so that you can make an informed decision this offseason? I would say yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Any meat left on the bone here on Minshew and Hurts? I mean, I guess the other question is if Hurts is still hampered, if the ankle is still a bit of an issue, does it change the calculation for you? Would you rather have Minshew than a Hurts who can't, necessarily have his superpower of running as much?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know without the injury information. Like you guys said, Hurts said he was going to play. I don't know if he really thought he was going to play or if he was just.
No, I think he genuinely thought he was going to play. I don't think it was. So right. Is it? I'm bad with pronunciations. Is it subterfuge?
Yeah, subterfuge.
Yeah. I don't think it was subterfuge.
Subterfuge. 10 in the morning. Subterfuge.
I think it was. I'm better at spelling things than saying things. So
wow.
I did hear you.
That is very interesting. Just that you recognize that about yourself.
Yeah,
I've never thought about which one of those I'm better at.
Like I'm good at spelling people's names sometimes, but I'm not always great at.
Well, you nailed Halapulavati.
Halapulavati, yes.
Bakhtiari is killing me. Every time I have to look it up for Bakhtiari.
You know what's a sneaky tough one is Simeon.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You think it's supposed to be
like Trevor Simeon or Simeon Rice?
Yeah, like Trevor Simeon. Like you think it's going to be Simeon with two I's. The second E is an A.
That is a tough one. I actually messed that up a few times. That's one that's easier to say than.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, that's true. Michael Dunn's an easier one to say than spell, by the way, because you never know if it goes E or no E at the end, right? You're going to work on that, Marissa.
No, but that's the worst speller on the planet. That's why I did broadcast journalism. So I'm the exact opposite. I would much rather pronounce something than spell it. But that word you said before, Zach, I don't even know what that word means. So
I've made the joke on radio. I suppose this is a flex, but it's more like an insult, or it's more like, I guess it's false modesty. But I've made the joke on radio sometimes when I don't need to say the name, I only need to spell it, right? And now that I do a podcast 3 times a week, I need to say the name too. So learning a lot about.
You did have. I did hear one before before we recorded that that made my ears perk up. How do you pronounce the coloring thing that a child might use?
A crayon.
A crown.
What?
Instead of a crayon.
Oh, okay.
I say it totally different. I say crayon.
Crayon.
You say
I
crayon.
think that's how my wife says it. Yeah, crayon. Give me a 2-syllable.
Yeah.
I say it like what you wear on your head.
I think that might be a Philadelphia.
I think it's probably a Philadelphia accent.
Yeah, crown.
Maybe.
I think I remember saying that when I was a kid, maybe. But yeah, that's a 2-syllable bad boy.
It's funny because and I suppose
look how happy Zach is. Just look at his face right now compared to when we do an
people are saying he's glowing, which is absolutely true.
I suppose accents are a relative subplot to the show right now, right? Because I know there was a lot of commentary on that the other day, but I never knew I had a Philadelphia accent until
Philadelphia accent, some would say.
Yeah. And I remember actually when I was
with a
on
little
radio,
bit of Montreal sprinkled in.
I wish. I wish. But when I was on radio in Syracuse, that was a thing that they had to they tried to say, if you're going to do this, you need to get rid of your accent. And I'm like, I don't know how to get rid of the accent.
Please, that's so
You're saying
hoity-toity.
that to college kids?
Yeah, that's so.
Oh yeah,
hoity-toity.
absolutely. That was a big deal.
ATFOH. Unbelievable.
It's all about authentic. Come on.
What
But-
is this? Says the guy who spoke as Brian Kelly for 20 minutes.
But I thought there was.
Yeah, that's my authentic voice.
I want to credit the writer, and I don't. I feel bad because this was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago when Ed Orgeron was hired, but it was such an outstanding line in a story where it said this is the first time that LSU has hired a coach that doesn't have an accent. Right. And like the implication was everyone else has the accent, right? Not the people who are there. So to me, when I say crown, that's how I always said it. And I need to work on that if I'm going to do national radio.
I think you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a crazy thing for me that they would be telling college students that.
Yeah,
I mean,
this isn't like ABC Nightly News or whatever.
Also, like who do I like when you're turning on
of course,
driving to New York and turn on the fan. I want to hear somebody who sounds like they're from New York. I mean, they're prepping you for national radio. My gosh, Syracuse, calm down.
Respectfully, Nick Wright's not training to do. I mean, Nick Wright's training to do the national show.
Oh my gosh, right? Marissa, you listen to this Newhouse snobbery over here? Unbelievable.
I don't know. Yeah. Philip Merrill always taught you to be yourself.
Yeah, Penn State. No one's telling me that. They're saying go in this closet, record your radio show. No one's listening to. And
we didn't even have a journalism school.
Yeah.
Well, it worked out well for you.
I do think overall, like the whole journalism landscape in that sense is. You are taught now to be a little more yourself than in the past. Like everyone was like no accents, no nothing. And I think that's becoming a little more acceptable now.
You know what, like the catch-all piece of advice that I think like all journalism programs say now is you got to be able to wear multiple hats.
Oh yeah.
God, tell me about it. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not print.
You're not just a writer. You're not.
You got to be able to do it all.
You look at this guy, he's going to the game, he's writing a story, he's doing his video hit after, he's got a podcast. You can't just be so specialized anymore. Back when I was doing this in 1987, I would write my story, go get a beer and go home. You know, you got to file by deadline. No deadlines anymore. Am I right? Online guys?
That's right. Now you gotta be multimedia. You gotta be able to video. You gotta be able to edit. You gotta be able to write. You gotta be able to do radio. It's everything. And guess what? You're going to be making $20,000 a year. You got to go to Podunk, South Dakota. You got to work your way up. That's what it's all about.
I used to take my voice recorder, and I would have to. You guys are gonna laugh at this, but this was also like in the vein of not having an accent. Listen, I used to record Eric Casillas and Colin Cowherd's teases. Right, because that was something that they wanted me to work on, my teases. Right, I was a little too straight, so it couldn't be like after this break we're going to talk about.
Let's open up that Kinsey scale.
So it's not like after this break we're going to talk about the way Jerry McNamara played against Colgate. No, it's like continue listening because I'm going to tell you why there are not 3 players in the Big East who hold a candle to Jerry McNamara, like something
Mike
like
Greenberg,
that.
The Mike Greenberg piece.
Exactly.
Zach, you are like a star student. I wish like everyone should take lessons from Zach. Seriously.
I mean, those things are so irrelevant to me. Like I'm gonna have to write a letter to the Newhouse School of Communications. Like,
how aren't you in the Hall of Fame there? Like, let's be.
Let's go.
Honest.
I'm just trying to.
I think we need to start that hashtag on Twitter.
I'm just trying to keep my square on this show. Basically.
Zach Berman and Dick Allen. Let's get them both in.
I mean, the only thing if you're going to be hosting a radio show, in my opinion, is are you engaging and entertaining your audience? I mean, does nothing else really matter? You can go talk about whatever you want to talk about. When someone's like sitting in the car, are they like, all right, I'm going to, hold on, I'm going to wait a second to go in because like, I mean, teases and accents. Give me a break. You can learn that. I mean, how hard is that? A tease? Like, get the job, and then they can teach you how to do a tease.
Right.
A tease isn't going to get you the job. No one's ever been hired because they said.
Now, it sounds a little bit to me like this. Zach was maybe taking this on his own as a project, though.
Yeah, this wasn't something like this. No, yeah. Okay. I want to say this wasn't something we did in class. This was like I would do.
Well, you
this
said
was-
they wanted you to get better at teases. You said though.
Yeah, the radio station, not the class. Yeah,
Who's
Yeah.
directing you? I mean, at my radio station, it's like 4 of us, and we're all like 19 years old. You had somebody like advising you.
yeah.
Chippy on the field and in the booth.
Look,
Yes.
I will tell you about Nick Wright's reviews of my work at a different time. But
Can we get him
those are
on?
stories.
Can we, do you have
I could probably
enough
get Nick on.
juice?
I-
Yeah,
I
baby.
definitely-
During the off season.
We need to have more guests.
I think I've got. I think there's a good long list of guests we'd like to have on. Maybe off season we'll make it once a week.
All right, fair enough. Okay.
Okay.
I don't even know where I was. I got so fired up. New house.
Am I doing an ad here while
Crowns.
we reset?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
why
you
don't
want
you
to
do
give
that?
give a tease before the ad?
Hmm.
There we go. Okay. Hold
Oh,
on
no,
here.
it is. Coming
This-
up after this ad break, we're going to find out why Sheil thinks that the Louisiana accent is the best accent in the business.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Check out BetterHelp.com/theathletic. The best way to think about therapy is through a bunch of analogies. We get our cars tuned up to prevent bigger issues down the road. We get annual checkups and go to the gym to maintain physical wellness and prevent injury and disease. We do chores regularly, at least some of us, to avoid a giant mess of a house and roaches. Going to therapy is like all of these. It's routine maintenance for your mental and emotional wellness to prevent bigger issues down the road. Going to therapy does not mean something's wrong with you. It means you're investing in yourself to keep your mind healthy. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Why invest in everything else and not your mind? This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Birds with Friends listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/theathletic. That's BetterHelp.com/theathletic.
So just to reset, I want to just get through the nitty gritty of like where the Eagles are playoff wise. And, we're coming down the stretch. It's December. You know what that means? It's Dennis time. I think we might as well rename December Dennis-cember, because the man has everything you need to know about the playoff scenarios. This is what he thrives on. This is what it's all about. You can check out his Twitter, but the real underline is basically, if they win 4 games, they're going to the playoffs. The only way they wouldn't would be if Minnesota wins all 4 of their games, essentially. But if they go 3-1, if they finish 9-8, there's a list of 8 things that have to happen if you check out Dennis's thing, but most of them are likely to happen. For instance, Carolina loses a game, the Falcons lose a game, the Saints lose a game, the Giants lose a game, the Bears lose a game, the Bucks
Those
win
will
the
all
division.
be done by
Right.
the time you're doing your. Well, there is no post.
Exactly.
By the time
it'll
Sunday
really
night
come
rolls
down
around.
to if they finish 3-1, whether or not they sweep Washington, and if not, what Washington does in their other games. So, I mean, they're in good position, especially given the schedule.
All right. So, do you think they're going to make the playoffs? Well, let's save our. I thought we could do some Final Four predictions next week.
Okay.
People want my take, Bo. This was the most polarizing, I think, post-game pod. I'm surprised it was this polarizing. I mean, I'm getting messages through every media channel that I have about Beau's accent. I thought it didn't bother me as much. I thought 29 minutes was probably, it probably didn't need to be that long. I thought maybe you could have started out. I think some people felt like maybe if you would explain it earlier on. But I mean, what has that? I know you said you don't care about any feedback as opposed to Zach, but are you feeling, I think the Minions loved it. They loved every second of it. And then there's another segment of the audience who's just like irate about it.
Yeah.
You've done much more annoying stuff, I would say.
Yeah. You know what? And I thought
could
that this
see
was
how that
gonna
was
be a
annoying,
case.
but you've done much more annoying
I
stuff.
knew that you were not gonna hate the accent. I was talking to
Well,
my
I
brother.
didn't say that.
I was talking to my brother last night, and he was like, I loved it in the beginning, and even I had to fast forward. And I told him that only
can he be our ombudsman?
and I said that only makes me want to do it more, and that's why it lasted 29 minutes, was because people in the chat, there were some vocal
gosh.
dissenters, and so like if you had come on and fully praised it, that would be the end. If you had come on and fully crushed it, I would probably, bring it back for the next episode. So you're doing the right thing. You've learned that playing it this way means that it may not come back. It may come back.
Well, there have been people who are like your brother. They've said, I'm like a sicko. I've been listening to the show from day one. I love most of the nonsense, but I just had to fast forward through the rest of that. So I don't know. Maybe
I respect
your brother,
that. That's
maybe
fine.
your brother can be our ombudsman.
Sure.
I mean, he's willing to give it to you straight. I'm sure he's, ripped you many times in his life.
As you said, that's
That's
what
how you know someone cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Now, at the same time, there were other people who loved it, so wished I did it the whole episode.
So, yeah,
so,
I mean, now in the chat,
go.
these are the true sickos in the chat at 10:20 on a what is today? Wednesday morning, and they're saying, "Don't explain it. It was a masterpiece. Never explain anything." So it's like I said,
absolutely.
it's really polarizing. Zach, I'm sure you've gotten quite a bit of. There were some people who said, "Sheil, if you were on there, you would have put an end to that earlier. You got to keep hammering Zach to put his foot down on that."
I don't think that would have been the case.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I might have just left.
I mean,
You might have joined in
for a short time. Yeah, I like to get into an accent for a short time.
Yeah. Like I don't think Bo would be like, Zach, what do you think about this? Like,
Oh wow.
No. I don't say that in a bad way. It's like this is what makes him great. He's got his way of doing it, right? So that I think that's what works on the post game pod is it's different personalities.
I kind of wonder if Bo just started to speak in one right now, what Rachel would do if she's in the other room on a work call. Would she be very concerned?
No, that would be every day, basically, of her life.
Yeah.
I mean, that would. She wouldn't even know I was doing a podcast.
I'll say this though. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead. I was just going to add a personal note.
And look, I'm not gonna. We don't need to go down the college football rabbit hole here, but listening to Marcus Free, I watched watching Marcus Freeman's press conference, compared to Brian Kelly's, it's night and day in terms of just genuine authenticity. And I've stood up for Brian Kelly, and when I said he was going to win,
I'd like to stand up on Brian Kelly
because he's won everywhere he's been.
See that?
Right, Grand Valley State, Central Michigan, Cincinnati, Notre Dame. But just in terms of the likability factor, you can't watch Marcus Freeman and not be like, you like that guy. Whereas it's hard to watch Brian Kelly's press conference and come away being like, I really like that guy.
Thank you. This is what we've been saying the whole time.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I know it was probably a little bit set up, but even that initial Marcus Freeman introduction to the players, I mean, that looked like pure joy from the players to me. Like, oh yeah, baby, this is an upgrade for sure. I agree. I mean, I've usually been a Notre Dame hater my whole life. I'm rooting for that guy. Go ahead, go Irish. I'm in on him.
I'm not all the way willing to go just quite that far.
Maybe not.
But, yeah,
all right. I'm rooting for him personally. The program, take it or leave it. But I mean, he seems great. I mean, why didn't someone else hire this guy for a head coaching job?
I mean, he was Cincinnati's defensive coordinator a year ago. They were great. But yeah, you can see by the way. I'm not saying players should have the say, but I've always thought that, and you saw this with Lincoln Riley, you saw this with a few other coaches. The best interview you can have is seeing someone do their job, seeing someone actually be in the building. You learn so much more about Marcus Freeman with him as your defensive coordinator for a year than you could learn interviewing someone for 3 hours. The job interview process can often be the most misleading part of the actual hiring process. So Oklahoma saw Lincoln Riley before they promoted him. The same thing, obviously, here with Marcus Freeman. I very seldom have doubts.
It doesn't always work out that way, though.
It doesn't always work out that way.
Who was that West Virginia guy?
Which one? Dana Holgorsen?
Who was the interim and then got the job from 10, 15 years ago?
Bill Bill something. He took over for Rich Rod after Rich Rod
Yeah,
went
and
to West
then it was
Virginia.
just he
Yeah,
won the
that
bowl
happens
game,
all
and
the
then it was like a
time.
disaster. Yeah, I mean,
All right.
so
Well,
But
in this case, though,
it's
yeah.
easier from a hiring perspective. You feel like but then you sometimes overrate that person and you
Sure.
don't cast the wide net, which I'm going to be doing a new version of my guidelines to follow for NFL owners this year.
Can I do it? Can I have like a side part of that of like guys who don't get interviews who I would like to interview?
No, that sounds like a separate piece to me. Yeah, let's do a separate piece. Get that. Come on, you gotta churn out the content.
Yeah, I mean,
You did that before. That was good. Yeah, you should.
It was
you
just a
should do
tweet
that.
before. Yeah,
Oh.
Who's your number one?
I don't know. I'd have to look through.
Well, think about it. 3 programs hired Steve Adazio when Marcus Freeman was
Right.
in a coordinator position. I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know about how terrible the process is.
I mean,
They don't
unless
know
you're
what they're doing.
unless
I mean,
you're
really.
trying to like lambaste your program.
I mean, NFL owners, like this is something I have heard reliably is like they look at all these lists that the Mike Sandos and
Right.
Albert Breers and Tom Pelisseros of the world put out. Like a lot of times that's their starting point of who should we look at for this head coaching job.
Well,
Right.
and look, I'm certainly not trying to curry favor here at all, because I doubt Jeffrey Lurie's listening to the show. But one thing that I do respect about Jeffrey Lurie's hiring practices is he doesn't seem to hire that way, right? Like he doesn't seem to just go by like who's the. It would have been easier now. Perhaps there were hot coordinators that he wanted last year.
I was going to
who didn't
say,
hire.
he hasn't he may
Jericho
not have
Ryan.
landed the people that he wanted on this list, but you are
like, let's
right.
be clear. Like Nick Sirianni did not win the press conference, right?
Yeah, Nick
But
Sirianni was not on those.
Yeah.
lists.
But if you are rating the coaching hires from last year, you're probably more impressed with Sirianni now
Ooh,
than
let's
you were
do
the
that
day he
next
was
week.
hired.
Are you
And
writing
then
this
if-
down, Bo, for segments?
What do
next
you
week?
want? What did he say?
Let's look at all the first year coaches and say if you could have it, how would
Sure.
you want them going forward? Let's do predictions for the final 4 games. Sorry, Zach, I cut you off. Go
No, and
ahead.
I look, I don't want to give him too much credit because they were going to go with Ben McAdoo over Doug Peterson, right? Like, but point being that Lurie has hired now 3 head coaches who were not interviewed during that cycle by anyone else, right? Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, and Nick Sirianni. And I'm not saying Nick Sirianni is going to have near the success of Andy Reid or Doug Peterson, but my point is that's a sample size that shows you're not just hiring from the list. Now, he really seems to hire from references, right? That seems that he has people that he trusts. That said, I do think it's relevant to point out that they don't just go with the popular name when they've made these hires.
There you go. All right.
Lost my train of thought. I had something and it's gone. to the ether.
Devontae Smith, I think they need to do a better job of like finding ways to get him the ball. Having said that,
How about playing him?
Yeah,
That'll be one way to do
What were
it,
the
because-
final snap counts?
He was 3rd among wide receivers.
No, did you isolate that with just pass plays and see what it was? Or
Oh no, I did not. And
I would
frankly,
wonder how many
to
routes
your
each guy
point,
ran.
Sirianni said the reason why that was because they were going with Rager in 13 personnel, and you're usually running out of 13 personnel.
They did have a couple snaps with Devontae as the receiver in 13 personnel.
One where they threw to him.
Shot, yeah.
He ran a great route. I think it was circulating on Twitter, a really nice deep corner route. I think it was a 3rd down on the right side where he created all kinds of separation, but Minshew checked it down to Quez Watkins, which it was still a 1st down on 3rd down. So you can't really fault him there. But that was one that I noticed that was open. The flea flicker, if Minshew is not pressured there, Devontae Smith did a nice job of kind of selling that this is a run play and then taking off vertical. I don't know if that play was designed for him because they had, Goddard down the left sideline, but I thought they had a chance for a big play there if Minshew wasn't under pressure right away when they flipped the ball back to him. So those were 2 that kind of stood out to me. This defense played like crap on Sunday, honestly. And it wasn't just the first 3 drives. I mean, all in the improvement was Zach Wilson making terrible throws. I mean, Mike LaFleur I don't know much about Mike LaFleur other than he's Matt LaFleur's brother, but like they totally out-schemed and out-coached the Eagles defensive staff. I mean, they had so many plays to be made in this game. They don't have a quarterback. They have a quarterback who's not very good, and they had some issues, not a ton, but some issues in pass protection. But man, I was even looking at, we know what happened on the first 3 drives, but even if you look at later in the game, I had some, they just had these huge voids in zone coverage. I thought Alex Singleton had a bad game in coverage. I mean, he looked lost at times where there are just these huge holes. It was like what we were talking about the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, where there are these huge holes when they're playing zone coverage, whether it's their linebackers jumping on play action or just not, covering green grass rather than matching the receivers in their area. That was happening all game long. I'm trying to look here. Elijah Moore beat Avonte Maddox. This was later. It was still a competitive game in the second. It was the drive where they got the interception eventually. I don't know if you remember that throw. Zach Wilson targeted Elijah Moore. It was wide open and just a terrible throw. I mean, it would have been like a 20-yard.
He stinks. Right now, at least, he stinks.
Who stinks? Oh, Zach Wilson. Yeah, Elijah Moore looked good in this game. Like I thought his not just the plays that he actually made, but you were just like, wow, if he had a good quarterback, he really could have had a monster game. He had a double move against Darius Slay on the next drive where he absolutely gets on top of him. Zach Wilson is a little bit late. The ball hangs up in the air and Slay recovers and makes a play on it. But Moore had Slay beat on that play. And then how about those red zone plays? I mean, they're nowhere near the pass catcher on the Wilson missed the one. I mean, it's like the easiest throw a quarterback's going to have in the NFL. He misses it. The next one, he hits it. But I don't know if it's Anthony Harris or Singleton. I mean, they're just completely lost, not communicating on some of those. So I thought this was a pretty discouraging performance from the defense. They're all the way down to 26th in defensive DVOA going into the final 4 weeks of the season. So let's see what they do here. I know that really there are still these it bothers me about DVOA is that there are these big swings week to week. So I almost don't want to put too much stock into it. I just want to
this late in the season. It seems weird, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I just want to look at it in week 18, but if you're looking at what they're going to do in the final 4 games, it's not crazy to think that one of these bad offenses is just going to carve them up because they're not great offenses, Washington and the Giants, but they're better than the Jets. And so they could have just one of these, Eagles fans will remember these games where you think they're fine. They're going up against a bad offense. And all of a sudden you get shredded. Like what I saw on film from this game leads me to believe that it's probably more likely than unlikely that happens in one of the next 3 games.
It's a shame that there's proof on the internet of someone making a prediction that the Eagles defensive DVOA at the end of the season will be the top half of the league and the offensive DVOA the bottom half of the league. That's one of those where you wish you can scrub the internet.
Wait, is that Zach or Bo? I don't even remember.
Me.
Oh man, it would have been better if we were taking a shot.
We did our predictions, and I said
it would be better than last year. I thought that's where you were going.
Right.
Yeah. No. That's one that I wish we can take that. I wish we can take that article down. So
I mean, there's a lot.
There's
a lot of takes we've had
there's a lot
that look much worse than that.
But I agree with the defense. That was unacceptable.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
And still, they had that Josh Sweat had that sack on 3rd down, and then they had another sack. But still, the pressure is not good enough.
It's weird. The metrics suggest, and Dennis actually had pointed this out. The metrics suggest that the pass rush has been great all season. I feel like it's been kind of up and down. I mean, that's why it's good to have the numbers because it could tell you a little bit compared to league wide. But yeah, I mean, there have been games where they've dominated, but this is a game they should have dominated. I didn't think they dominated up front. I thought Hargrave played well. Sweat, I thought, got kind of stronger as the game went on and finished strong and was pretty good. But I mean, did Derek Barnett play in this game? I mean, he was nowhere to be found, in my opinion. He didn't do anything in this game. Fletcher Cox made some plays against the run. He got double teamed on the one sack that they had. But not enough. I'm just looking at the talent. When we get into the discussion about whether they should trade for a top level starter in the offseason. And it's sort of if you want to talk me into the offense a little bit and say, well, you got Devontae Smith, you got Goddard, even though the offensive line is getting older, some of the younger pieces have emerged and maybe they'll be okay there. If you just maybe add one wide receiver. Could it be an appealing place for a veteran quarterback? I don't know. I'm sure that's something we'll be talking about in January or February, but defensively, I mean, they have a lot of work to do with this defense. You have some guys up front beyond that defensive line. It is not pretty. I mean, your whole secondary, you're really going to have to reshape that linebacker core we've talked about at length. And so they have a lot of work to do on that side of the ball.
Well, and I think that's a good point. And big picture, there is like there are some Eagles fans who are sort of worried that like a run down the stretch here will fool the Eagles into thinking that they're better than they are. And, maybe this is naive of me, but I actually think that for all the things that we've criticized the front office for, they are not going to do that this year. They are not going to think that this is like a close to like Super Bowl caliber team. I think they realize how much work needs to be done on this roster, even if they end up, making the playoffs and finishing 10-7. Maybe it's naive of me to not worry about that, but I actually think that they are viewing this roster with relatively clear eyes at this point.
Full hearts.
Yeah. Although the same was the case in 2017, and I mean they didn't see that coming.
Good point.
So
good point.
Well, yeah, but you mean 2016 into 2017?
Yes, exactly. Like they didn't build they didn't finish the 2016 season thinking like we just need a few pieces and we're a step from the Super Bowl. But they had a quarterback make a huge jump.
And I think that's instructive and that's important. Like you should be much more willing to be pleasantly surprised than like thinking that you have something and you want to hold on too long.
In all facets in life. Yeah. Right.
There you go.
I don't know. Haven't they've had cases where they've overreacted to what happened at the end of the season?
Oh, they have. I don't. I mean,
2018, 2019.
Yeah. So why do you think it's going to be different?
Because they because of the way that they talked about entering this rebuild, entering this offseason.
Okay.
I think they realized that the entire roster needed to be overturned.
Yeah, but they also, I think, and maybe part of this, I think, is good. I don't think they're a franchise that thinks like believes in 3-year rebuilds. I think they believe in getting impatient and making a move because you kind of don't know. It's hard to actually know what you have. I mean, you take an honest assessment, but to what Zach just said, like that's a lot harder than anyone would believe. We think about it every offseason. It's hard to be right about that. And when you're the person making decisions, I mean, that's a part of team building. You probably don't want to overthink that.
Like the move for overreacting and thinking you're closer, the move would be, trading 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson.
Yes.
Well,
I mean, I do think they might be willing to do that, but
I disagree with that because I think Russell Wilson's the type of player who like by sheer force alone changes the trajectory of your franchise. By just his presence. Until this year, he's never been with a team that's had a losing record, and he's been injured this year.
Yeah, I think we always sort of dip into this and then say, let's save it for January, February. So let's
Russell
do that.
Wilson. We should have a like in January. I know I'm sorry. I know Sheil's gonna be busy with the playoffs. Who knows? Bo and I might be busy with the playoffs too. But January, February, there should be like a Russell Wilson show, the Deshaun Watson show, where we go deep into.
I'm sitting out the Deshaun Watson.
Go sit out the show. Okay, I mean.
Just Zach for 60 minutes.
60 minutes is be the first 60-minute show we've ever had.
You can have Nick right on for that.
Right, that's what I'm
All right. Anything else?
Aaron Rodgers.
He's not coming here.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, you don't need to dip your toe into the mediocre quarterback market. But what if they do? If that's the market you're shopping in, just stick with what you have. You really do not.
I agree with that.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else? Did you have any other notes on the post-game show, Sheil?
No, I think the one storyline pretty much dominated it.
I'd say so.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I didn't take notes during the post-game. I think
I'm glad Marissa and I were of value during that show, right?
Yeah, I didn't watch
You were.
I didn't watch the video of you guys trying to fix a TV or something.
Yeah, everybody
yeah.
loves the
Marissa did
TV
send me a
segment.
fun
Yeah.
screen grab of it. I didn't know what was going on there.
Marissa is such an outstanding producer that she caught on to the fact that we can't have the game on in the background there.
Well, my favorite part was Zach was like, "Why can't?" Oh, yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah. But that's how good Marissa is. Like that's just next level thinking.
Well, you know,
That's a
I
senior
don't want to have
podcast
like we've
producer
had
right there.
some, you know, song YouTube issues with some of Beau's lyrical masterpieces. So I didn't want them to think we were using we were trying to stream any NFL content with it. So just, you know, had to make sure the video stayed up there. So
I
You
have a
think
quick-
you think if Marissa was not a senior podcast producer, she tells you about that or no? She's like, who cares? Let it rip. Do what you want to do.
Did we get that update? Did we get a little CTC? What's the?
I'm not-
Come on, I bring it up in jest. I don't ask. Did you get a?
I've not talked to the people team yet. TBT.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no!
Sentiment
Listen, I need to know if
after
we need to sick the minions on them.
We did. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say how many, but the audio team did have a shattered our downloads goal in the month of November,
this. Oh,
all-time
good.
high at the Athletics. So props to all of our shows.
But mostly
excellent
this
fun.
one.
Yeah, mostly this one, of course.
Okay.
Beau's gonna clip this off now and send it to all my other shows.
I had a quick football related question.
Yeah, I mean,
So we saw Monday night, you know, a big deal was made about the Patriots offense, right? And there's the question that keeps coming up with the Eagles, which is like, do they need to pass more, right? If the running's working, can they stick to it? I've never seen a team in recent history at least do it to the level that the Patriots did, and I understand the weather was a factor there, of course. But do you think that there are going to be teams that are watching that and they're saying, why can't we do it? Maybe not to that extreme, but what's holding us back if we're dominating at the line of scrimmage from running the ball this percentage?
No, I wrote about this
Okay.
on The Athletic. I think Belichick's getting way too much credit for that performance. I know reasonable people disagree with me. I think it was fine. I think it was a fine strategy. I don't have an issue with it. I think the Bills missed a lot of that was a coin flip game. I mean, they didn't, it's not, you know, they did not dominate that game by any stretch. They had one huge run. The rest of the game, they had 45 carries for averaging 3.4 yards per carry. The
McDermott
Bills,
over here. You sound like McDermott right now.
I mean, the Philly came out in McDermott in that post-game press conference. Oh my gosh, he was salty. He was not hiding. I like that.
Don't
I
crown
like
Belichick.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're rivals. I mean, really,
Yeah.
you know, like he's looking at it like now. Certainly, I would criticize the Bills for their actual offensive approach in that game. I don't know why Josh Allen wasn't a bigger part of the run game. They have that in their playbook. They didn't go to it. They felt like they had to play the same game the Patriots were playing. I don't think they had to. They had a strong-armed quarterback. They have I know the conditions were not great, but they have a team that is built to pass. So, no, I mean, the biggest mistake any team, coach, organization can make, he's trying to do what Bill Belichick does. I mean, you see this time and again with the Matt Patricias of the world. And so I don't think there's any like big picture stuff to take away from that in terms of the Eagles. And this is like the big, hey, can this be sustainable? I mean, it depends. Like is the goal to just win Super Bowl or bust? You're probably going to have a hard time. You know, Jalen Hurts has to improve as a passer. The passing game has to get better, even if running game stays this efficient. And if you're going to go all in on it and you think that he can, well, now all of a sudden you have to probably upgrade at running back, get deeper there. You have to make sure you're set on the offensive line. You have to be even more creative with your run scheme. So it is sort of the Baltimore model, but even that, you know, if you look at Lamar Jackson's passing numbers, it doesn't always look pretty, but it's been a lot better than what the Eagles have had this year.
Okay. Any more football questions, Zach?
No, I was curious that one because that's come up quite a bit.
It was a fun game, though. I thought, you know, like it's rare to have a game that's so different than every other game you watch. So I was compelled by the entire viewing experience there.
Fun post-game press conferences too.
Yes.
Jordan Poyer,
who
your boy,
yes, who,
released
Beau,
for.
yeah,
ahead.
Beau and I got into and I think Beau was correct on this one. This was last week when I put out there a little annoying esoteric trivia question,
Oh,
but
that was a good trivia question.
when the Eagles, the last time that the Eagles were in danger of only having two healthy running backs was in 2013, and they promoted Matthew Tucker from the practice squad. Who did they cut to make room for
39 was Matthew Tucker 39?
I believe
Sounds
so.
right.
Sounds right. I looked that up, and the answer, of course, was Jordan Poyer. And so we were talking about that among other reporters, and I said, I had heard at the time from someone in the building that they really liked Jordan Poyer, and this was really hard for them to let him go. And then Bo chimes in, how much they like Jordan Poyer. They kept Sean Prater over him. Yeah.
I mean, they didn't like him that much.
Yeah.
I'm with Bo. That's
And
I
Bo's
hate
right.
when
Yeah.
teams try to have that, we really liked him. No, you have, slots open. You have to make it. You didn't like him more than the 53rd guy on the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where, as a reporter, I need, when the person tells me that, I gotta be like, well, how much did you actually like him? Yeah.
I love Casey Toohill.
Or you just take it and then rip them, behind the scenes.
that I won't do.
That's my method. Oh.
Always give them a chance to respond. Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. Sheil, what'd you think of Elijah Riley on film?
Oh my gosh. Not pretty.
What do you mean? He was great. Just the one play.
I did like, if you watch on film after the Jason Kelsey had the, I don't know if it was he got the better of him. Then Jason Kelsey gave him a little low five on the way back to the huddle.
Yeah.
So at least they like him as a person.
Two
More
franchise
importantly, let's
icons.
think of the return of the Wulf's Den.
Oh, I love it. We talked about that, didn't we? Or was that?
No, because that came out Friday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I love the Wolf's
You
Den.
tweeted it. Yeah. You
I love the Wolf's Den. I wish, I want to get this locker room access back so we can get some
You and
more
me both.
Wolf's Den and
I
the
was
post game
cracking
stuff you're
up.
talking about over here in Kelsey. I mean, I want to. You need to, and you guys telling me I don't go to the games. I mean, if the locker room were open, I'd be coming to some of these games. But the value from my perspective is not there. I mean, I'm not going to be able to bring anything to the table that you don't. If I'm
the way you watch the game,
sitting there.
Yeah.
I don't watch it. I'm not a great live game. I know you've praised Bo for this. I actually
it's
struggle.
outstanding. Yeah.
My eyes wander. Yeah. All right. Let's wrap it up.
Okay. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. We'll be back. Are we doing Tuesday next week? I guess so, even though there's no availability. That's when we can do the head coach.
We just
new
laid
head
out
coach.
exactly what's going to come for Tuesday.
Okay.
Exactly.
Sounds good. So we'll do that, and we'll watch the games this weekend to see how they affect the Eagles. So for Zach, Sheil, Marissa, and Elijah, I'm Bo. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the bye. And as always, we love you.